Sup fam, welcome to the MrsReddit channel. I'm your host, Karen Monroe. Today we determine who is the jerk, where a girl asks her roommate if her parents know how to use birth control. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Am I the jerk for ignoring my sister's wedding invite after she didn't come to my wedding? I, 33 female, and my now husband, 33 male, determined our wedding party years prior to our wedding. I asked my half-sister, 37 female, to be my maid of honor. She excitedly said yes and immediately went out and picked out a dress. Then, the month of our wedding date, lockdown hits and everyone has to postpone their plans. We eventually rescheduled and set a new date for a year later, sent out new invites, bought new bridal party gifts, and prepared for the big day. My sister then reconnects with an old flame and they immediately become serious. She abandons her recently purchased home, moves her kids and herself into his home, and begins talking endlessly about marriage when her divorce is final. We had discussions about what her new plans are since she had planned to stay with us in my house during the wedding, and I asked her if her new man would be joining her. She said that they both would be coming, but they wanted to stay in a hotel. I understood and definitely didn't mind him coming. The wedding date quickly approaches. We got the final head count for the bridal party and guests, paid the venue, and waited excitedly. 2 days after giving the final count, and 5 days before the wedding, I get a message from my sister saying they just looked at travel costs and they won't be able to make it. I was understandably upset and sad, but I understood if she couldn't afford it since she had originally planned to drive and then changed her mind to flying. However, the fact that she had so long to plan ahead made it kind of more upsetting. We had made any guests, including the bridal party, very aware that we couldn't pay for their travel and understood if that meant they couldn't join us. Fast forward to the big day. The wedding goes down without any other issues. My side of the bridal party was one short, but there wasn't time during the wedding to eat or drink, let alone worry about that. It was a beautiful day, but of course I was sad that my sister wasn't there. My husband and I got in the truck after the wedding had ended, and he asked me, "Did you see your sister's post?" He then showed me her Facebook announcement of her new guy, and the kids at a resort they had traveled to that day, and pictures of a wedding venue they visited and booked. I wasn't truly upset until that moment. I made the decision to unfollow her post for a while and tried not to stew on it. We got an invite in the mail with her apologies for missing our wedding, but she wanted to invite us to her wedding in 2 months' time. I ignored it. I haven't said anything to her, and I'm pretty sure I threw the invite away. I feel some guilt and like I should be a bigger person than this, and of course there are different opinions from people about how I should handle it. But am I the jerk? You are definitely not the jerk. Your sister sounds selfish, and why on earth would she post on social media about going on vacation when she was supposed to be at your wedding? I think it just shows where her priorities really lie. If you care about someone, you don't ditch them on one of the biggest days of their life. Maybe you should talk to her about what she did if you feel like you regret not attending her wedding. Am I the jerk for making my friend send me a picture of her dress so I can pick her up, as she's constantly late? I, 20 female, have been friends with Mia, 20 female, for years now, and she's one of my best friends. I love Mia, but there's one problem that annoys the heck out of me. She's constantly late. Wherever we go, Mia's at least an hour late, even when I pick her up at her house. I can't even count the times Mia has asked me or our friends for a ride just to make us wait in front of her house in the car because she still has to get dressed, or just came out of the shower, or still needs to eat. One time we were trying to pick Mia up in the winter and she made us wait 30 minutes in front of her house because she had to do our makeup. Mia texting she's ready to be picked up just to make us wait in front of her house is a very common occurrence. Last week, I kind of snapped. I tried picking Mia up at her house, and once I texted her that I was there, she immediately texted back, "Just need to get dressed." I ended up waiting 20 minutes in the car for her. Quite frankly, I'm sick of waiting, so yesterday Mia needed a ride, but I demanded she send me a picture of herself already dressed before I would leave my house to pick her up. Mia was very mad at me, and she said she feels like I'm treating her like a baby. So, am I the jerk for making Mia send me a picture of her already dressed before I pick her up? I think it's safe to say most of us have that one friend who is never ready on time and is always late. I know I do. You are not a jerk for feeling annoyed. Your friend needs to learn to respect you and your time. It is incredibly rude to constantly make people wait for you. So just maybe asking her to send some confirmation that she is actually ready will make her think twice about making you wait on her. Am I the jerk for having my daughter see my parents? My daughter is 13. I am married to my wife who has very feminist values. I also have my parents who are very traditional. My parents are extremely strict and can come off as cold, but deep down they are loving. They just don't show it as much. They are the authoritarian type, just like when I was growing up, but I learned to respect my parents even if I was unhappy with them, and I believe I'm a stronger person for it. I know my parents don't like my wife. They make it very clear. If she had it her way, she would cut them off completely. I know how unhappy they make her, but they are my parents, and I would never abandon them. My daughter has made it clear from the time she was little that she hates my parents. She would cry and refuse to get in the car to go see them, so I would have them come over instead. They aren't cruel, but they will put their foot down when my daughter acts up. They don't let her speak unless she is spoken to first, and they often judge what she wears and does. I usually have them over when my wife is at work, so she won't speak up about them like she has in the past. I know my daughter doesn't like it, but I want her to at least be able to see her grandparents, and I hope one day she will be glad that she did. Yesterday, my daughter revealed to my wife that for the past few years, I have been having my parents over a few times a month. My wife originally thought I was only having them over once a month and that I wasn't making our daughter have anything to do with them. My wife is pissed that I have been lying to her, which I understand, but now she is saying I need to completely cut contact with my parents and never bring them around again. Despite their flaws, I deeply respect and love my parents. My daughter chimed in sobbing, saying that I should put my parents in a nursing home and leave them to die. When they die, she will stomp and dance on their graves. I'm at a crossroad right now. My wife and daughter are upset and pissed at me and want me to abandon my parents, the people who gave me life and shaped me into the man I am today. Am I the jerk? Sorry, OP, you are kind of a jerk. I get where you are coming from and that you love your parents and you want your daughter to have a relationship with them, but honestly, they sound pretty mean. As a father, it is your number one priority to make sure your family feels comfortable, and they clearly make her feel bad about just being herself. If you want your parents around, you have to tell them you will not stand for them disciplining your daughter. If they can't do that, they are no longer allowed to come over and have any type of relationship with her. It looks like you're gonna have to visit them by yourself until you can establish some boundaries. Am I the jerk for calling my fiance lazy for wanting to be a stay-at-home wife? I, 42 male, am engaged to who I feel is the one, 33 female. We've been dating for just over 3 years and I proposed last month. Last night, after another session of wedding planning, my fiance asked if I would be alright with her being a stay-at-home wife. At first, I laughed because I thought she was joking, but she was being very serious. She told me not to laugh and that she wants to be a stay-at-home wife. I asked her why, as we both make pretty good money at our jobs and we can't afford our current lifestyle with just one income. She says it's because I make a lot more, which is true. I make about 40% more than her, and we could just scale back our lifestyle. She said it's been on her mind a lot, that working 9 to 5 just wasn't for her. I asked her if she was being serious, and she confirmed that she was. I said that I'm not comfortable with that idea, and said maybe if we have kids, she could be a stay-at-home mom, but I'm not cool with her being a stay-at-home wife. She said that I was being manipulative, because we are both child-free, but I just said that as a hypothetical. I'm not at all okay with being the sole breadwinner for just us two. That divulged into a pretty heated argument. She said that I should support her dreams. She never stated what she wants to do by staying home, even though I did ask. So this is where I think I might be the jerk. In the heat of the moment, I said, "Where is this coming from? Why is this your dream to be a stay-at-home wife? Is it your dream to be lazy?" She got really upset at that. She went to her mother's house and said, "We'll talk more when you calm down." I'll be real here. I don't want her to be a stay-at-home wife. I'm not okay with being the sole breadwinner, and I do not wish to support this dream. I want a partner in life, not a dependent doing nothing productive with their days. Am I the jerk? We all say things we don't mean in the heat of the moment, so I'm sure you didn't intend to come off the way you did when you said she just wanted to be lazy. However, it is honestly a bit weird and concerning that she wants to just quit working for no apparent reason, especially since you don't have kids needing childcare. I think it might be a good idea to talk to your fiancé about how her quitting work would impact both of your lives dramatically. Hopefully, if it's all drawn out, she would begin to understand why it's not such a good idea. Am I the jerk for kicking my boyfriend out over my cat? For context, my boyfriend and I recently moved in together. It's something we've been talking about, and when his lease ended, he moved into my apartment. I have a cat, Millie, who is my baby girl that I've had since she was a kitten. Back when my boyfriend and I first started dating, he made the joke that if we were ever to live together, he'd have to get rid of that cat, which I dismissed at the time. When he would come over, he would ignore Millie, making jokes about how cats are stuck up and how much he's a dog person. Again, I dismissed this because he never acted hostile towards her. I figured it was just a preference. When we started to get serious about moving in, he asked if I would consider giving her away because he didn't like the idea of living with a cat. I almost laughed before realizing he was serious. I told him that under no circumstances would I get rid of my cat. I felt guilty about being unwilling to compromise, but he actually took it well and reassured me that if she was important to me, he'd get over it. Fast forward to last night. I don't think he realized I was in the kitchen when he came home. Millie was on the couch and I heard him go into the room and give this long sigh. Before I could call out, I heard him say, "You're so effing worthless." It terrified me because I've never ever heard him speak with such malice. He sounded like a different person. It was just so cold and hostile that I panicked and rushed out there to see him looking at Millie. Here's where I might be the jerk. I completely freaked out. I was yelling, asking what he thought he was doing talking to her like that. He jumped and I scooped Millie up and told him to leave my apartment right now. He looked so stunned and started to argue, asking me where was he supposed to go. I told him I don't care, he just needs to leave. He was so pissed and said he was going for a drive and slammed the door behind him. I immediately started sobbing and holding Millie. She calmed me down eventually, and later when he texted me asking if he could come back, I said yes. I put Millie in the bedroom so we could talk. We were both a lot calmer, and I felt awful after he explained his side. I'll often call Millie little names, and he said he was just trying to be playfully mean too, and that I misjudged his tone. But he said that it felt awful that I chose a cat over him, and that I called it my apartment when it's supposed to be our place. He told me he was constantly feeling second best to Millie, who I wouldn't even consider rehoming, and that I had thrown him out over an animal when he's a person. I explained to him how much he means to me and apologized for ever making him feel like this wasn't his home. Am I the jerk? You are so not the jerk, OP. Moving in together is a big step for anyone in a relationship, and the transition can be difficult to say the least. Any loving pet owner is not going to be willing to give up their animal unless it's a life or death situation. You love them like family, and someone who cares about you should understand that. It seems like your boyfriend may have some self-esteem issues if he feels like you actually always choose your cat over him. That's just kind of weird. It's okay to get upset when you think someone has mistreated your pet. It doesn't mean you care about your boyfriend any less. Before our last story, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment below letting us know who you think is the jerk. Am I the jerk for telling my roommate it's not my fault her parents don't know how to use contraception? My roommate has a ridiculous amount of siblings. She's the oldest and has like 8 younger siblings. She has the largest family of anyone I've ever met. Since she has an insane amount of siblings, she grew up extremely poor since her parents couldn't afford to have as many kids as they did. She complains all the time about how she hated growing up in a big family and how much she resents all her younger siblings and how her parents are so irresponsible. She always uses it as a way to get what she wants from me or push me around. She complains about how I receive more scholarship money than her, despite her needing it more than me, since her parents decided to have too many kids and can't afford to support any of them. She always wants to borrow my clothes since apparently her younger siblings always stole and borrowed her things growing up. She thinks she deserves more space in our suite for her things than I do, since she didn't have enough space for anything growing up. She calls it reparations. I'm a paid tutor and charge a lot for my services. She expects me to tutor her for free all the time since her parents had too many kids to support them educationally and never helped her with her homework growing up. I told her that her parents are to blame for her crappy childhood, not me. It's not my fault her parents couldn't control themselves and use contraceptives like everyone else. Am I the jerk for not going along with the things that she wants? Okay, OP, you are not necessarily the jerk, but you could have been a bit nicer about how you told your roommate you disapprove of her behavior. It is totally reasonable to be annoyed by your roommate, and it's not your responsibility to make up for the things she missed out on as a kid. However, it seems like you may lack empathy for her situation. Childhood trauma and poverty do take a toll on people later in life, and maybe you should be a little more understanding about that. I think you just need to tell her nicely you don't feel comfortable with her demands, and if that doesn't work, you may need to discuss moving out if things don't change. That's all for today. See you soon. She said that I was being manipulative. She said that I was being manipulative.